Well, the Governor of the Bank of England has told MPs there are signs the economy has returned to growth, but he warned businesses and households will continue to suffer because of dampened demand and high unemployment. Well, Sky's Dermot Murnahan is on his bike looking for green shoots across northern England. Let's find out where he is on day 2 of his economic cycle. Dermot.
Good afternoon to you, Steve. Well, I'm actually in Wakefield, made my way down from Leeds today, about 18 miles. That was because of a brief navigational error, it must be said, around about the Castleford district. And most of the way I've been following the Trans-Pennine Trail, and it sticks more or less to the wonderful canal system around here, wonderful and underused, as you can see. And one thing that really strikes you as you travel down this canal system is the vast number, the huge number of unoccupied commercial and industrial buildings. And some in the property world feel that the way that they're being taxed at the moment by the government may actually be prolonging this recession. Well, to discuss that, I'm joined now by Graham Howarth. He owns about 3 property companies in and around the area here, and Andrew Teacher from the British Property Federation. And Graham, you first of all, just tell me what's going on with the taxation of unoccupied commercial properties at the moment.
Well, the problem seems to be that the government has introduced in April a tax on any property that is unoccupied, and whereas before we had a 50% relief, that relief has in effect been dropped. So the situation now is that if any of our properties become unoccupied, we have to pay full business rates.
And that's in the heart of a recession. Now, Andrew, what was the theory behind this? Why did the government decide to do this?
Well, basically they wanted to raise some money. I mean, essentially what it is it's a tax on something that's not earning any money. It's like making the unemployed pay income tax, because you're charging a tax revenue on something that doesn't have a tenant because of the recession. It's not earning its owners any money, and thus it's a massively destructive process, because you're going to drive under landlords that have properties that could be used in the future, and many, as well as leaving them empty, are actually being forced to knock them down.
But wasn't part of the Treasury's argument that in actual fact, if there was a tax on unoccupied properties, it would lead landlords to drop rents, to lower them just to get the tenants in?
But the problem is that you can only lower rents to a certain point. If there isn't a tenant, lowering rents to, whatever you want to lower them to isn't going to conjure those tenants up. And what we've seen is that commercial values have actually plummeted by up to around 50% over the last few years. And although today's investment property data back index shows a slight gain in property values, the market has massively fallen, and this tax is only going to prolong the agony for many people across the country, as you've seen.
So what have you seen happening then in the centre of Wakefield over there, Graham, with not just your properties, but what's the city centre looking like, and how much burden are landlords facing here with this tax?
Well, over the last 12 months, walking through Wakefield city centre, it's pretty obvious to see that 1 in 4 offices stroke shops are all for let, and obviously people have been driven out by the global recession. But in addition to that, the landlords are suffering from, in effect, a tax that's been placed on them for failure.
Do you feel, I mean, it's been said then that, it was Andrew saying, some of these properties are being knocked down or made unusable, so you don't have to pay the rates on them. If there is an upturn, if we're in an upturn now, presumably demand then increases. These properties won't be available, and certainly not at the rents that people will want.
Well, that's true. I mean, we've been fairly fortunate in Wakefield in that there's been a fair amount of regeneration of new buildings, but old buildings, that is making the way for, in effect, old buildings to be demolished. And I think that perhaps in the next few years the Wakefield situation will pick up, but certainly at the moment it's quite a sad state of affairs.
And just on picking up, just to look at the green shoots element, do you see any of that happening in and around the Wakefield area at the moment?
Yes, definitely. There are definitely signs. We're at about 70% occupancy now in one of our properties and around 50% in the others. And comparing probably the last 3 months, around about sort of 50% to 40%. So yes, there's definitely an improvement.
Samplings there, and Andrew, just back on the taxation, the rates for unused properties. The pre-budget report's coming up. What do you want to see the chance of doing that?
Well, we want to see the relief for empty property rates reapplied. I mean, the government has made it clear they're not going to do that, and that this is a fair tax. But I think the problem is that Labour isn't looking at the long term. It's looking at short-term ways it can fill up the holes in the exchequer by basically raking in cash wherever it can. The Tories as well have also been sitting on the fence. They claim to be on the side of business, but have yet to actually make any real guarantees about what they're going to do. What we need really is a commitment to supporting the long-term future of the property industry in this country, because it's not just simply about landlords, it's about retailers, it's about businesses, it's about the much wider
prescription
economy.
there. Thank you very much indeed. Andrew Teacher, Graham Howe, thank you very much indeed for your time. An underreported aspect perhaps of the recession, and next time heading south to Barnsley for perhaps another underreported aspect of this recession, the effect on pets and unwanted animals. Back to you then, Steve.
Thanks, Dermot. Well, we've lost two great men today. TV chef Keith Floyd has died at the age